let's check out the meter and the time of use meter. And there's some registers on here that 45, 48, and 48. So this is the time of use meter, and it has registers that record how much energy that you're selling back to the grid. And basically there's three registers that I look at. There's a total kilowatt hours that I've sold, and then there's a on-peak kilowatt hour register, and then there's an off-peak register, and I look at those. Currently they don't mean anything because I canceled my net metering contract with Progress Energy. It found out that there are these things that they have called demand fees, and when you have a time of use meter, what happens is they have a multiplier, and what they do is they take the maximum amount of kilowatts that you've used in a 15-minute period, and they multiply that by like 6 or 7. And so if you use 10,000 watts all at once, then they would multiply that by 6, which would be $60 right off the top, not including any of the kilowatt hours that I actually used. When I found out they were doing that, I was like, you know what, that's a bad deal. So what I did was I just canceled my contract once it was up. So right now I'm just selling power to the grid for free. I'm not getting paid for it. I'm not getting credits on my electric bill. So this is 44, register 44, and it said 99. That means I've made 99 kilowatt hours. 45 is off-peak, 48 kilowatt hours off-peak. Register 48 says 50, that's on-peak, I believe. So anyway, those are the registers. They went by kind of quick. But anyway, I'm trying to get a application filed with the Utilities Commission so that I can do this thing called sell excess, which is different than net metering in that you get a check every quarter for the amount of kilowatt hours that you sell back to the grid. You don't get credits. It doesn't turn your meter backwards per se. You don't get credits for that. You just get paid by the kilowatt hour, and I believe it's about 9 cents per kilowatt hour, and which isn't much, but I'm also trying to register with North Carolina Green Power, which will subsidize the kilowatt hour usage and pay me like 15 cents per kilowatt hour. So it would be like 15 cents from North Carolina Green Power plus the 8 cents or so from Progress Energy. So you're looking at like a little more than 20 cents per kilowatt hour, and I'll get paid that. But I have applications in currently right now waiting to be approved. I also had to file an application with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and I have an application in with them as well. I haven't gotten any information back from them, but those are the hoops that you have to jump through. I figure I better at least get paid cash for this. Oh, with the sell excess there's no demand fee. So, you know, I don't get charged an arm and a leg. But I figured I might as well get paid cash for it as opposed to selling it to the grid for free. So it's called sell excess. It's a new thing they're doing now. So there's net metering, which is a bad deal because of demand fees, and then there's sell excess, which means that you only have one meter, right? And but you get paid for anything extra you put into the grid. Then they have sell all, which means that you'd have one meter for your house, and then you would have a completely separate meter, you know, mounted over here for the grid. And what happens with that is that you can't use any of the power that you produce when you do sell all. It all has to go into that 1 meter, straight into the grid. And I didn't do that because my whole purpose behind getting this renewable energy system was so that if I ever lost grid power, then I could have backup. So I didn't do sell all. and so they finally came out with this new thing called cell excess, which means that I get to keep my old net metering meter here, but like I said, I get paid cash instead of getting credits on my bill. Here are the registers again. Register 44 says 99. That's total kilowatt hours sold. 45 says 48. I believe that's on peak. 48 says 50. I believe that's off peak kilowatt hours sold. So 44 is the total amount, and then they have the on peak register and off peak register. The thing to remember also, though, when you look at how many kilowatt hours that I'm selling to the grid, you have to take into account also that the wind turbine and solar panels are producing energy. The inverters are producing the power that it's selling to the grid, but it's also supplementing any power that's being used in the backup panel, and it's also supplementing any power that's being used to any of the appliances that are tied to the grid tie panel. And so those, the backup panel and the grid tie panel appliances, they are being supplemented before anything gets sold into this meter. So that means that in order to sell into the meter, you actually have to be producing more than you're currently using. And so that means that supplying a lot of the power to my house before I ever sell anything to the grid. So anything to the grid is extra over and above what I'm using in the house. So it looks like that the sun decided to come out again today, and the panels were solar panels, the Kyocera's and the 4 Evergreens, were making about 2,700 watts. It's about 55 degrees outside, and turbine around 500, 600, actually a little more than that now. Okay, silver selling now. Okay, you're selling 3.3 kW. Excellent. So we're selling over 4,000 watts. And that's at 2,000 watts, 25, 3,000, over 3,000 briefly with the turbine, and 2,700 watts steady on the solar panels. And see that light right there? Okay, that's diversion load. That means that it's producing, the turbine's producing way too much power, and it's kicking power over to the diversion load, which is right here, which you can't really see, but there it is. Yeah, so when that light right there came on, it was the turbine output was too much, so it was kicking excess power over to here to dissipate the extra energy as heat, just to protect the controllers, the ARE controller and the Outback FM80.